Hello, welcome. Right, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Wenlin. I'm a virtual yoga and meditation instructor based in Turin, Italy, originally from Singapore. And as part of a 4-week Yoga and You, Yoga Philosophy and You series, I wanted to share a little bit about some of the sacred texts often associated with philosophy, with giving advice or insights on how you can better live your life, and also tying them in with respect to some aspects of what is within a yoga practice that may not be specifically relating to postures, because yoga is so much more than just a physical practice, beyond the poses and beyond the breath. And today's episode is on the Tao Te Ching, often written in English as the Tao Te Ching. Yeah, and it is written by Lao Tzu. Lao Tzu is a very famous philosopher who came from China, and he actually preceded Confucius, who is Kongzi, who is perhaps more famous and a little bit more well known than Lao Tzu. But regardless, Lao Tzu's works have been very, very influential, and they've influenced many countless leaders, as well as generations of scientists, of artists, and even up to present day. So I wanted to share a little bit about this text, the context of this text, how it's structured, and a few nuggets of wisdom that might be relevant at this point of time, especially at this juncture. For example, right now in the US, now they're counting votes. Maybe if you're tuning in and you are in the US, you might be feeling some anxiety relating to the outcome of the presidential elections. If you are based in Europe, like me, I'm here in Turin, Italy. It is one of the cities that has been within the region of Piedmont, considered to be the red regions of Rosso, or Zona Rosso. So most of the businesses will be actually closed from tomorrow onwards, and yeah, my livelihood has been affected as well. But putting that aside, I think at this point of time, actually yoga and also philosophy has a lot to offer us, a lot to offer me and you, in terms of how we can look towards ourselves for inner guidance. And yeah, I'll jump right into it. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment box. I'll be checking from time to time to see if you have any questions. Let me know if you're tuning in and where you're tuning in from. I would love to hear from you. Okay, so let's begin. So with regards to this Tao Te Ching, it was written really long time ago, and I won't focus so much on the context in terms of the history and stuff like that, because you can easily read all of that online. I think where my insight may be helpful would be my interpretation and my sharing on this text that may get you interested. So I'll start with talking about the structure of the text, a little bit about the context, the general themes that are explored within the text, and then I'll go into 3 separate chapters that I've chosen to talk about today. I'll share a little bit about the translations for these texts, maybe read a little bit in original Chinese. So I'm ethnic Chinese, originally from Singapore. All right, and then go on to talk a little bit about the explanations behind these and how we can use this insight to then better live our lives, that you can use this to better live your life. Okay, so let's begin. So Tao Te Ching, very interesting name for a book. Tao is path, right? The meaning of Tao is actually a path, right? Tao Lu, which means a road or a path, but it can also mean a way, a method, right? So there are many different ways to understand this word. De is often translated as virtue, so how one can live a virtuous life. And Jing is a scripture or text. So essentially, is this text, what it does is offer you an insight to follow the path of virtue to live your life. And this is often translated as the book of the way. Sometimes it is translated as how it manifests in the world, or simply, the book of e-menements, right, with regards to the world. So there are many different translations out there available. Later on at the end of today's episode, I will share a translation that I recommend that you can have a look at if you are not familiar with reading in original Mandarin. Zhongwen. Okay, so there are various themes that are explored within the book. So the book starts with talking about what is the Tao. Firstly, what is the Tao? You know, what is the way? Is it actually a path or a journey that you take? Is it something? Is it an object? Is it a feeling? Is it, you know, what is it? It talks about what is the Tao. And then it explains how you can go about to live a virtuous life, or to start to become a woman or a man of character, of virtue, to practice the. And then it also goes on to explain various things, including the basics of Taoism, right? That is often considered to be a religion, but I would see it as slightly different from other religions such as Islam, or for example, Christianity, or even Catholicism, because within Taoism, it's a little bit different. So there isn't, for example, one considered to be one specific God that everyone believes in. And I myself am not religious, so this is from a point of view of someone who is considered an outsider, right? So I consider myself to be spiritual, but not necessarily religious. If you are tuning in and you have any questions or comments with regards to the spiritualism and also about religion and how it relates to Tao Te Ching, please feel free to share your own insights, right? It would be very helpful and it would be great. And I see this really more as a dialogue rather than me giving a lecture. Within the book, it also talks about the attainment of how you can reach spiritual perfection, or, well, rather than perfection, is more of like working towards growing your sense of spirituality, or often translated as sageness. How can you become a sage in relation to the Tao? And then within this book is so very interesting. The many chapters within the book talks about how you, as a ruler, someone who's not just living for yourself, but also living within a community. So you might be, for example, the head of your family. You might be the vice chair of a certain group, of a certain circle that you lead. So, or you might be, for example, a supervisor at work. So all these are different ways that you may so-called rule or start to guide others. And it talks about how you can use certain principles and certain values and virtues so that you can guide others better in a way that is more aligned with the Tao, with the path, the virtuous path. And the book addresses various kinds of people. It talks about those who follow the Tao as sages, people who have retreated from the world. For example, maybe they are living by themselves in the mountains, they're meditating, they've abstained from worldly things such as technology or even human contact. Those are sages. They may be looking for unity with the Tao and with spiritual perfection. And then there are noblemen and women who partake in life, of communities, of interaction, of growth, of that sense of being together. And then there are also rulers who are guided as how to, for example, you are the head of the company, maybe, so someone in a position of more authority, right? And who, within this book, they talk about giving some examples about how if you are in such a position and if you have various people under your guidance, how you can begin to guide them in a way so that they can also align with the Tao. So not just you, but also to guide them to see the light or to walk the path. Okay, so now that we've covered a little bit about the context, I want to dive right into 3 separate chapters. So this whole book, or this whole text, is divided into 81 different chapters. Right, and the first part, about 30, I can't remember exactly, 30 something chapters, is dedicated to the Tao, and it talks about it gives you an insight and it describes in detail, gives many examples and many different ways of understanding what is the Tao. And in my simplistic way, my elevator pitch, if we were to meet in the elevator, or if you saw me for the first time and you only had 1 minute and I had to explain to you what the summary of what that is my take on it is that the Tao is everywhere. It is returning to that sense of union, And this is why I wanted to share this as part of this Yoga Philosophy and You series, because I find that there are so many coincidences, so many similarities across texts, across religions, across various teachings, across even eras, generations, geographical terrains that give the same message, that resonate. And the one message that's the same, that is that we are all one and the same, you and me. And not just you and me, us as humans, but also us and the rest of the world, us and the other beings, the other living beings, the other creatures. For example, I've started to surround myself with many plants, right? These living beings. And also maybe if you have pets, dogs, cats, wild creatures as well, we are all one and the same. There are other ways to feel the Tao. If you have been in nature, if you have been close to a tree, if you have stepped on the grass barefoot, you will know what it is like to be aligned with the Tao. It means that sense of returning to the realization that you are whole. You are at the same time, firstly, a microcosm. So one small being, you as your small self, me as my small self, but also you and I, we are divine. We are part and parcel. Every single action, every breath we take is contributing to this entire ecosystem, this entire sense of oneness that is enveloping, that is cocooning our life, our world, our ecosystem, our planet, whatever you want to call it, the universe. Right, so that's my understanding of the Tao. And the Tao is also not just a sense of being as part of the collective, that union. It is also an unfolding. So if we go back to the understanding of the word the Tao, it means a path. The path that you will take will be different because you are unique, just like me. Right? We are one and unique, and depending on how we were brought up, what strengths and weaknesses we had, what preferences we had growing up, these all influence what path you will take. And very often in life, earlier on in life, you might be inclined, or I was definitely inclined, to looking outwards to others to see what might be the best path I can take so I can follow in the footsteps of others. And if you're a little bit more advanced, then maybe you are not someone like that. You spearhead your own path, right? Because you set the path and you walk the path that other people have not been walking on, and you take the path less traveled, right? According to poetry, so on and so forth. But I digress a little. What my point is really that rather than looking outwards, whether or not you are a pioneer or whether you're a follower, right? Instead of turning outwards, the real wisdom begins when you turn inside, instead of looking outwards to other people for guidance, to other people for recognition, to other people for advice to what to do, to follow, to innovate on. A lot of the time, what you need to fulfill your Dharma, or what you need to overcome the challenges that you are facing right now, is actually already within you. So a lot of times the struggle happens when you feel, or at the times, using my own experience, I may sometimes feel overwhelmed by the information that is around me, and sometimes I feel inadequate. I just feel like I just need to know more, I need to read more, I need to do more, and there's never enough. You're on this constant path of chasing, and many people I know who are working corporate jobs, there's this sense of I'm never good enough. I have to keep working harder so I get the next promotion, and then after I get more promoted at the next level, I need to do this, and then I can reach that step. So there's this constant chasing, and there's nothing wrong with growth. Actually, growth is really great, and that is in essence walking the path. So you don't keep staying at the same spot, but you continue to walk the path that's yours. But instead of focusing on keeping to walk the path because you want to reach the next destination, focusing on the journey itself, the journey itself, the Tao, the path, the way it unfolds, what happens as you walk it is as important, if not more important than your destination. Right? Many of us, for me, I for myself for sure have spent so much time focusing really on like, I want to do this, I want to achieve that outcome, I want to make sure I'm like this, I want to go there, I want to do that. There's just so much emphasis on achievement, on doing, on like moving forward, that there's this whole sense of forgetting that process when you reach there. And then when you reach the destination, very often it's immediately you plunge in towards another destination without taking time to even look back, or without taking time to sit for a moment. Now that you've reached the destination, how do you feel? Are you happy? You know, what has happened, what has changed? So in my opinion, this is really what the Tao is about, and what this book is trying to share with you, with me, with everyone. And this is my very subjective interpretation. I would love to hear if you have a different interpretation reading this book or from your own experience. Okay, so now I'd like to share with you 3 short excerpts within the book, and I will reference the chapters as well. Some of the chapters I may also read the original text in Chinese. So we'll begin, or actually not in chronological order. So I chose these. So one question I often get with regards to these philosophical texts is, how do I approach this text? You can read this in a chronological order for sure. Definitely, that will be one good way to begin. You can start with that, and then I would recommend, as you are reading through it chronologically, if any specific chapter resonates deeply with you, take a note of that, and then come back to it when you finish the entire book. Or even if you don't finish the entire book, maybe you stop halfway through or 1/3 way through, or just barely through, and you find a page that deeply resonates with it, sit with it, let that ruminate, let it simmer, right? Like a dish on the pan, let it simmer. And it will take some time for you to really digest and understand what it means for you. Because a lot of these philosophical texts, it's not a matter of what was correct, or what's the translation, what's the original meaning. So I believe that Lao Tzu's intention for these texts is for you, for me, to take the text and to use our own interpretation and our own knowledge and our own references, our own life experiences, and then use those lenses to read, to understand the text, and to feel them, and then apply them to life, to our lives, my life, your life. And that is the true value, I think, of these philosophical texts, such as the Tao Te Ching. Alright, so since we'll be talking a lot about the self, I wanted to share a chapter about the self, and this is really relating to knowing yourself. Right, so this is chapter 33, 33章, right? 知人者智，自知者明，胜人者有力，自胜者强，知足者富，强行者有志，不失其所者有，死而不亡者寿。Okay, so it seems quite short, but there's a lot to unpack within these texts. And don't worry, I'll begin to talk about the translations. Right? So, 知人者智, this is knowing others, right? Knowing someone, you who knows others, that is considered intelligence. Right? So you know, and you can read others, you can understand what they're thinking, you know their behavior, you know their personality, you know that is intelligence. But 自知者明, knowing yourself instead, is true wisdom. Because a lot of the times we may be good at reading others and understanding others, but we may not know a clue about ourselves. And in psychology, there's this concept called the Johari window, and it's very much like an iceberg. So the iceberg, there's this tip of the iceberg that's above the surface, and you can see, and that's plain for everyone to see. Right? You know that what other people know about you, and you know that about yourself, but there's a lot that's submerged, and there may be some part of you, for example, that's exposed to others, but you don't know. that others know that about you and you're clueless about it. So I could go on forever, but that's for another day on Johari window. If you're interested, I'll leave that in the comment as well. Let's go on. Alright, the second line, 胜人者有力，自胜者强. Right, so this is translated or can be understood as mastering others, being able to win or to be victorious over others is considered strength. But right, if you can win yourself, if you can overcome yourself, your own challenges, your own weaknesses, that is true power, true strength. Right. The next line goes like this. Right, 知足者富. Right, so those who are contented, and this morning I just taught a class on Santosha, and also this week I've been teaching Living the Yamas and Niyamas. It is a 10-week yoga and philosophy series. And Santosha can be best understood as contentment. And in Chinese, there's this very beautiful phrase called 随遇而安. 随 is to follow or to go in the footsteps of, right? 随遇 is whatever happens, to meet with something that happens to you, or you coincide, or you meet someone, you meet an incident. 而安 is to, by the way, as it happens. An is a sense of peacefulness. So in essence, 随遇而安 really means whatever happens as life unfolds, everything is okay. And earlier this year, when Italy first went under lockdown, I was in Singapore at the time with my husband, who's Italian. There's a beautiful phrase called tutto andrà bene, or andrà tutto bene. And for a long time, I've been debating with my husband over actually the true meaning of this, whether it really means, it literally translates as everything will go okay, or it will go well, everything will go well. Right? Whether that is a sense of knowing things will go well, or the sense of hoping that things will go well, or lastly, whether the sense of tranquility, serendipity, that sense of truly being okay whatever happens, right? Equanimity in Buddhism, in yoga, in many other senses. So that is what is being shared within the chapter. So there are a couple more lines, of course. 强行者有志, and then we do have 不失其所者有, 死而不亡者寿. And these three lines can be understood as once you realize, and if you realize that you have enough, you are truly rich. So that's the line on contentment. And the other point is, if you manage to stay in your center, finding your center, not just a physical center, but your mental, your spiritual center, your core, knowing where that resides, and you are unshakable in that center, whatever happens, then it means that you can, this translation goes like this, you can embrace death with your full-heartedness, and you will endure forever. And this means that even if you die, your flesh and body, in yoga we talk about the 5 layers of the body. That's called the Panchamaya Kosha model. And the 5th layer, the most superficial layer, is understood as the Annamaya Kosha, the meat suit, the flesh and bones, like if you touch yourself, the skin, right, the texture of your skin. Right, even if one day, right, and that day will come for all of us, for you, for me, this body, my body, for example, were to decay, and I were to not exist in flesh and bones anymore, my spirit and my legacy remains, and it persists and endures forever. So this is really the chapter about knowing yourself. Right, I want to repeat again, this is chapter 33, if you're interested. A very, very beautiful chapter, and very timely, I think, especially with regards to everything that's unfolding, especially in this year. I think a lot of people I've met, some of my friends I've spoken to as well, have mentioned that a lot of these things that have unfolded this year with COVID, with many of the situations around the globe, have really triggered that sense of questioning, really what are the things that are truly important to me? And then what really makes me me? And what do I really care about? So this is the chapter about knowing thyself, knowing yourself. Okay, I realize I only have limited time left, so I'm going to quickly talk through the next two chapters. The next one is with regards to learning from nature, and I talked a little bit about how the Tao Te Ching and the Tao, right, the path, is not just feeling as part of one, that sense of oneness with nature, but also to learn from nature, to see the nature as yourself, see yourself in nature, that kind of reflection. And this one talks about the qualities of water. This is chapter 8, 第八章. Right, now I won't read it in Chinese because there's no time. Right, so the English translation goes like this: the supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus, it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. Right? When you are content to be simply yourself, and don't compare or compete, everyone, everybody will respect you. So really this chapter takes reference from the qualities of water and invites you and me to be like water, to flow, to be adaptable, to find that sense of malleability, kindness, generosity, fluidity, compassion. And water is really great because it gives to everything without complaining. It flows to all the places where people are like, oh, that's so dirty and that's like disgusting. And it's there. You can find water there. Beautiful, nourishing, everything around. And we can find water within ourselves. So our body is made mostly about 65% more or less, really depends, of fluids. And all these fluids are essential to our nourishment. And I often like to teach a class focused on the element of water, just to remind my clients, my students, my friends that, that sense of water is already within us. And modern life can often be very rigid, very tiring, very fast-paced, very rigorous, very fiery, or more like structured. But really our nature as humans, as living beings, is to be fluid and is to be adaptable, is to evolve, to morph and change and adapt as life unfolds. This is something intrinsic and just within us already. We just need to tap on that quality for it to begin to come up towards the surface. So a quick summary, water is deep, so it's really spiritually deep, and we can be too, you and I, right? And it gives with kindness, it is honest, it reflects everything as it is, and it doesn't control. So water really flows, and I like to talk about this in my classes about taking the path of least resistance. And this goes back to the Tao as well, because the Tao is a path. Instead of forcing yourself through a path, go around it. Are there any ways that you can be creative if you are facing a roadblock, an obstacle? Try something new that you've never done before. Doing something in a different way, right? And understanding that there's always opportunity to innovate, to try, to play, to have fun. So that is water. And the last chapter I wanted to share with you is on beginning small, starting small and starting early. And this is chapter 64. So it goes like this: what is rooted is easy to nourish. What is recent is easy to correct. What is brittle is easy to break. What is small is easy to scatter. Prevent trouble before it arises. Put things in order before they exist. The great pine tree grows from a single tiny sprout. The journey of 1,000 miles starts from beneath your feet. Rushing into action, you fail. Trying to grasp things, you lose them. Forcing a project to completion, you ruin what was almost ripe. Therefore, the master takes action by letting things take their course. He or she remains calm at the beginning, at the end as at the beginning. He or she, right, the master, has nothing, thus has nothing to lose. And what the master desires is non-desire. What the master learns is to unlearn. The master simply reminds people of who they have always been. Right? And the master cares about nothing but the Tao, the path. Thus, the master can care for all things. This is really, really beautiful. I'm reading this. I often reference this in my classes, and every time I read it, I get goosebumps. I hope that by sharing this with you, somehow some part of it has resonated with you. So if we break this down, right, we're understood or given the advice to deal with things when they are small, right, by starting to target them when they are small. And my husband, he likes to reference this story in his consultancies and in his trainings about this dinosaur that is not seen, that it exists, but it keeps growing bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and people keep ignoring it until one day it is so big that it cannot be ignored. It destroys the house, it explodes from the house, and then suddenly people start to take notice. Okay, the dinosaur exists. It's always been there. And the same happens to a lot of things, and I feel that this is extra timely, and perhaps there have been some aspects of your life that you've been ignoring, or some issues within yourself. For me, for sure, I did not address some of the issues I've been working through, and because of the busy pace of life, you just let things unfold and you ignore them or you put them aside. And now, because of COVID, many things have started to show, right? They've started to unfold, and the ugly areas of maybe, say, the roots start to get exposed, and you see, okay, I've been ignoring this for such a long time and did not occur to me. So this is why it's so important to start when it's early, when it's small, and to really care about this. Right, then within this chapter again, we are reminded that the biggest trees start from small saplings, and even tall buildings, of course, you have to start from that small foundation, a strong foundation, and also long journeys began from the dirt, from that present moment of taking the first step, wherever you are right now. So, and the next part talks about not grasping or not pushing yourself too hard, not pushing your way, not bulldozing. My dad likes to talk about how sometimes he says, don't bulldoze through life, find your way, walk the path, but not bulldozing. And imagine that image, as if you're a bulldozer trying to bulldoze your way through life. Instead of that, returning to that sense of fluidity, right? Whenever you start to feel there's a sense of struggle within you, the Tao Te Ching is reminding you that you have that water inside of you and you can flow. You can be creative and fluid. And you don't have to grasp too hard. Let things flow and let things unfold as they happen. Right? Whatever needs to be done will be done. And trust that you will know when needs to be done and that you will do it, instead of grasping or hoping or being too attached to an outcome. Right? And also the last part talks a lot about how to put as much energy in towards the end as the task in the beginning. And many of us, myself included, I've been very good at putting energy in the beginning, having that strong, committed beginning. But then towards the middle, maybe you taper off, the willpower dies out, and then you lose steam and you start to forget, what kind of mentality, what virtues, what things you really cared about in the beginning. So consistency is really important. and that sense of flowing like water, really taking that full journey from the beginning towards the end. So with this, I've come to the end of today's episode. I'm just going to quickly see if anyone has any questions. It would be great to hear from you. Please let me know if you've enjoyed this session and what you would like to hear more of in terms of philosophy. Alright, so if you don't manage to tune in live and you're watching this on replay and you have questions, you can drop me a private message as well. You can leave a comment in the video, which will be available under my video section on replay later on. And I want to share with you from next week onwards, considering all the incidents that are happening and with regards to the last part of the year, I thought it would be timely to share a series rather than philosophy, focus on meditation, on bringing meditation and some elements of yoga philosophy together. So for the next 5 weeks, the same time today on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Italy time, Central European time, evening in Asia, morning in the US, I will be sharing a short guided meditation every week for 5 weeks. Each week will be centered around a theme, and that theme will take inspiration from the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is a sacred and a philosophical text commonly associated with yoga. And you can have a preview of each week and what that specific week is about. If you can have a look at my main page, is the cover page, and you'll see which of those that I'll be covering, and each week will be a niyama. And I won't spoiler that, and I hope you'll join me next week, and it will be free, of course. And yeah, I hope you enjoy. I think meditation at this point of time is a very useful and very helpful resource, and I hope by sharing this that it will help you find and cultivate that sense of calm and centeredness so that you are unshaken, so that whatever happens you will persist and your essence, your legacy will remain. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed today's session. Please take care and I'll see you soon.